Welcome to RevCast, an official podcast of Apolyton Civilization Site. I'm Cartimandua.
Reeves.
Alexander the First.
Supposed to say shiny.
Shiny.
No, Alex wasn't supposed to say that. That's trademark. What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry. We need a new one. How about...
Trademark.
Oh, you're not funny.
That's true. That's why you married me.
Wow. Off to a good start.
Who wants to do the intro?
You can.
Yeah, you're running the show, aren't you?
No. I thought
yeah.
you were.
Oh, God. No, I'm not funny.
Apparently none of us are funny, so...
Dan, it looks like it's your turn.
No, God. Nobody wants to cop to this.
Okay. We're here for episode number 1. Yay! Everybody say yay.
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 That was awful.
Yay!
Huzzah.
Woo!
I'm Cartimandua, and I'm joined with Alexander the First.
That's me.
And Joe Reeves.
Joe B. Reeves, thank you.
Joe B. Reeves, whatever. Just kidding, sorry. Joe B. Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
We're the co-hosts, and DanQ's here for a minute. Let's say a little bit about what RevCast is. Anybody know? This is a podcast that's devoted to Civilization Revolution, put out by Firaxis. Been called many things, the nicest of which is Civlite. However, a lot of people have enjoyed it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing a podcast devoted to it, right? You like it, right? That's why we're here.
We all like it.
Let's do some introductions a little bit. I know that we said our names, but Joe, how might our listeners already know you?
Oh, let's see. On the forums, I would be known as Joe B. Reeves, and I tend to consistently take that name on whatever forum I'm on. So if you see anything on IGN or NeoGAF, you'd see me under the same name.
I think that you were a guest co-host a few times on...
I was lucky winner of the CivRev contest that Dan had posted earlier last year. And I got to be a guest co-host on one of the shows, and I realized the, what did I call it? The contained insanity, I think is what I called. Controlled insanity.
Ah, yes.
Condensed
insanity, yeah, that's it. And for some reason I was invited back, so either people who have been guest co-hosts in the past didn't want to do it, or I was, I don't have a reason why I'm here.
You won another contest, didn't you know?
Oh, I won?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you won position of co-host. It was really envied by a lot of people, but you won. Congratulations.
I am a winner. And I'll just say I've been playing Civ since Civ 1 on the Amiga.
Awesome. Alexander.
On the forums, I go by Alexander the First. Right now, that's Alexander with a Roman numeral 1. It used to be Alexander 01, because that was the year that I joined Apolyton. And I'm a news editor. That means I occasionally post a news item. I'm also the PolyCast emergency backup host. So whenever Imran contracts some sort of contagious disease, I take his place. My avatar is usually this little Babylonian king guy.
Yeah, it was getting boring. I'm just kidding.
Whenever I open my mouth, it gets boring.
I'm Cartimandua, also known as Annalee. I am a PolyCast co-host, but I don't know why. And I also won the contest, and so I get to be on RevCast. Yay!
We're a group of winners.
One of the comments that we received last season was to cover more of Civilization Revolution on PolyCast. And the problem with that is, other than Annalee, neither myself, Mackie, or Imran have played much of CivRev, if any at all. I played the beta back in November of 2007, but I myself still do not own a console platform. I decided we wanted to recognize the CivRev community more than just the occasional special. And so what we're hoping with this podcast is to give people who are interested in CivRev not only the opportunity to be informed about CivRev and to be entertained about CivRev, but also to interact. If you have constructive criticism and or positive comments about RevCast, and you communicate that either through the forums on Apolyton, CFC, or call into the show, you too could become a guest co-host on RevCast.
Or you can also get made fun of if you say mean things. Oh, just kidding.
Well, those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Sometimes we save those mean things for when you actually guest on the show.
Well, thanks, Dan, for that rundown.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Uncle Dan.
Oh, Uncle Dan. I like it. At Civ Fanatics, they have announced unofficial Civ Rev contest in which you can post if you have completed all victories on the same turn. Those victories, there are 4 ways to win. 20,000 pieces of gold and you build the World Bank. That's one victory condition. The other one is if you capture all the capitals of your enemies. The cultural victory is if you get 20 great people. And the space victory.
Space race, yep.
Right, if you make it to Alpha Centauri. Anyway, so they say that if you get all of the victories on the exact same turn, you can enter yourself with your score. The only conditions are that you play on King difficulty, you cannot save, it has to be a straight game, and you can play on any of the consoles. There's only, a couple people have posted in this thread on Civ Fanatics, but I think that's because it's so hard to do.
That's incredibly specific.
Yeah.
And wow. To be able to time that in the first place, to be able to build the World Bank and also get Alpha Centauri at the same time seems, I don't know, hard.
Yeah, I have no intention of entering myself, but
No.
I was playing with the timing last night to even see how much it would take, and that is way too much planning.
Yeah.
Way too much.
I could see having the ship and having 20,000 gold pieces, but having the building finished, as well as having the ship make it to Alpha Centauri exactly in the same turn seems impossible to me. Or too much work, that's all I'll say.
Right.
It seems like it might be asking a little too much. And somebody already did it it looks like 2 days after the first post, as Aztecs did it in 2020.
Jeez.
And as he says, it gave him a culture and an economic victory, although the requirements for the other 2 victories were met in the same turn. Dude, wow.
But he says at the next post that he doesn't think it should count because he had to reload from a save.
Oh, yeah. Well, then nobody's done it. Congratulations.
So, there is lots of room to prove you're the best.
It seems like there's too much work for too little return, or too little reward.
But maybe that's the challenge aspect of it, where you take a game that's fairly easy to win, and you make it impossible to meet the conditions.
Just suck all the fun out of it.
It's funny, though, this is our first piece of information that we're going to talk about CivRev on the new podcast, and we're already talking about one of the limitations of the game, and that is proving what you've done.
Right.
Where you might have achievements on Xbox Live, the DS has no real upload functionality. How do we know they're even doing this without being able to send some sort of file or have some sort of achievement tag to it?
No kidding.
It's unfortunate.
We could just get on there and make up all kinds of crap.
I did it in 1413, and
I did it on my second turn, and I was playing. I was playing as the hidden, unlockable Babylonian Civ, and
Oh, brother.
I settled Mars before I settled Alpha Centauri,
Yeah.
and just all kinds of crap.
You're right, there is a limitation to the game there. Something that PC gamers, I think, will have a hard time adjusting to if they decide to play it on this.
I think there's room for, let's say, a ladder tournament or something like that between, at least on an Xbox or a PS3 console, to be able to play online. But having specific things like this is just really open for, let's just call it interpretation.
There's a lot more accountability with the PC.
That's it. That's the word.
Well, especially when you can load it up, you can load somebody else's saved game with, like, Civ 4, you can actually prove that what they did and what steps they've taken, and that's kind of crazy.
Well, but, also, I guess they have the Game of the Week. It's going to be the same for everybody who loads it, so it seems like the game is also built for that type of competition. Have there been any forum posts talking about, well, let's all compare the Game of the Week scores that we've got?
I don't know, has there?
Not that I've seen, and it seems like that would be an easy one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's the same on the DS as it is on the PS3 as it is on the Xbox also.
we wanted to talk a little bit about the different consoles and some of the differences and the similarities. We can probably just move on to that right now. We don't really have a formal structure like like on PolyCast.
We're free-flowing.
We're flowing and freewheeling and DanQ-less. And
we are quite Q-less.
But yeah, with the consoles, I have read, and I can't prove it because I only have the game on DS. And I know you have it on the Xbox, right, Joe?
I actually have it on DS and Xbox.
So you could actually probably prove this for me.
Sure.
I have read that the game itself was exactly the same. It's just the graphics that are different. Is that right?
Yeah, engine-wise, actually, I made a post, and it's on Apolyton. The engine is the same, and you can tell it's the same if you've played most of the games because you see the same type of strategy against other civilizations. The inability to sell a unit is not in the DS game, which that kind of stinks if you have a warrior sitting there in the year 2020. It can happen. Even if it's worth half a gold piece or just a single gold piece, you can still get it out of it, but otherwise you got this unit just sitting here wasting time. Leonardo's Workshop and CivRev gives you immediately upgrades antiquated units based on available technologies. Bismarck gets automatic upgrades for elite units.
A good incentive to play as the Germans.
Mm-hmm. Or to beeline for the Workshop. The Workshop, I think, is a one-time burst. I think when you build it, it automatically just hits everybody at the same time.
Okay.
So it's you'll see people really beeline for that one.
I think that from what I have read is that a lot of people are playing CivRev, but not a lot of people know how to play CivRev. Do you know what I mean?
All of us here have graduated from a Civ PC lineage to go into CivRev, so we have a specific style of play.
Right.
And when you go online, let's say with the Xbox, you see a little bit more of an RTS strategy where they just try and just beat you to death, where there's not as much strategy. They play it differently, and I can only assume that they play differently if you've never played Civilization before. If you're playing just CivRev for the first time, you're not going to play it the same way that you would a Civ 4 game.
Well, I think that's exactly right. I think that at times your strategy is limited in CivRev, unlike Civ 4. In CivRev, it's not quite as structured. You can go in without knowing exactly how you're going to play it. You can change your strategy because it's not as a permanent thing. Does that make sense?
I agree. And Sid even said in an interview that he wanted you to hate the leaders by the time. Yeah, he did. And that's the type of aggression that he wanted to get out of these leaders. I still have this need to play CivRev as if it's a Civ 4 game. But when Gandhi is constantly knocking at your door with troops and just demanding and demanding and demanding tech, you hate the guy.
Right.
It gets from this strategy where you say, I want to do cultural, and then it turns into, I have to destroy this idiot because he is just bugging the hell out of me the entire game.
Right. If you appease him once, he keeps knocking.
Yes, absolutely.
That happened in my game last night with Napoleon, and I was so frustrated. And I was like, oh, really? I just barely,
It is a little bit irritating when all of the world leaders act like Attila the Hun. They should have put him in there because that's how he acted. You appease him once and he keeps coming back for more. That's the sort of guy that you would actually love to hate in the game. But, Gandhi, shows up and says, oh, please give me more money or I will kill you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Gandhi's launching nukes in this game, and I'm not busting anybody's chops. I know what they're trying to do with this game, and I have no problem with that. But they all tend to turn into the same leader after a while.
Although it is interesting, and I think it is impossible to play a straight culture game.
I've done it, but was it fun? Not so sure.
Plus, I think the culture, for me, I found that if you were just doing culture, it was actually not too hard to do, because you kept getting those great people.
Mm-hmm.
So that you knew by the end of the game you're going to easily have those 20 great people.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Civ 4, a culture victory is actually really difficult. It takes a lot of time and a lot of planning.
Uh-huh.
At least that's the way I think.
I agree with you, Annalee, that it's unfortunate. I am not a warring person when it comes to Civ 4. I enjoy the build aspect, and unfortunately by my end game in Civ 4, my computer is chugging because I built so much garbage that really isn't necessary, but I enjoy it so much. And that really helps with the culture score also, that I'm just basically continuously building culture.
Right.
So I don't like the battle. I like the journey, let's say.
Definitely.
I don't have that ability to really do that within CivRev. And again, I'm not complaining, but think about another way that you can pick up great people in this game. You earn them with culture, but what's another way you pick up great people in this game? By war.
Right.
By destroying a city that has great people. So again, you feel a little funneled towards a specific path. It's that race to the finish that Sid talks about, that you want to get to the end as quick as possible. Well, go steal these great people if you want to get that cultural gain. Don't build and don't create your little empire on your own and have your own little bubble and play your own little world. Go out there and attack. Go out there and explore.
If, by chance, and I don't know if this is going to be the case, but if there is anybody who decides to listen to this podcast who has not played CivRev or hasn't bought it yet, maybe we could share our personal reviews.
I guess I'd endorse CivRev. When it was first announced, I was a little bit disappointed because I was operating under the misconception that it was going to be, like, instead of Civ 5, they were going to do a dumbed-down Civ or something. But once I figured out what the actual purpose of the game was, introducing it to new players, it made a lot more sense to me. So, yeah, I'd support it.
I absolutely would. As much as I complain about it, I still love it.
I felt like there was a little bit of a learning curve for me in that I was playing it like I'd played Civ 4, and I get really upset when things weren't working out. It's like, what? I just captured Chicago. It can't go back with all those units in it.
Yeah. Why can't I raise this city? Why, things like that. But you have to build your strategy around those limitations now.
Yeah. But I think it is fun. It is a really good starter into the Civ world. I introduced my two little brothers to it, and they do enjoy it. And I think that if they play it more, they even noted some interest in the PC game. So it is interesting for cross-selling and cross-marketing there.
Well, and I would imagine that even for the three of us, I mean, we each entered the Civ franchise at different stage. Joe, you said you entered at Civ 1, is that correct?
Absolutely. I'm just as bad today as I was back then.
One more turn. And I joined at Civ 2, and I know Cartimandua didn't start playing till Civ 3, and you actually hated Civ 3.
I hated Civ 3. I refused to play it, but when Civ 4 came out, I liked it.
You were kind of a hard sell, if I remember correctly. You're like, oh, I didn't like Civ 3, why am I going to like,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the addiction happened.
I like a thread at Civ Fanatics. It's entitled, now that the game has been out for a bit, is this a rental or a buy? And it seems that the general agreement is that if you rent it, you're going to wish you had bought it. Because it is versatile. It's not like a game that has one track to it. Once you finish the story, you're done. It is, like all the other Civ games, it is replayable forever. Every game's going to be a little bit different. Although, because of the lack of civs, because there's not, I don't know, what is BTS comes up with, how many civs
oh my gosh.
By the end, once you get all, like 40 or something?
Something like that.
Once you have Warlords and BTS for Civ 4, you have like 40 civs.
Leadership got close to like 60, because a lot of civs have 2 and a few even have 3.
But you're limited to 16 in CivRev, and so if you can get past the boredom of interacting with the same people, you can play it forever.
I think it's dynamic enough, even with limitations of the amount of people. I think I've taken more time sometimes investigating what Civ I want to play in Civ 4 and what leader I want to play as I have played an entire game of CivRev. And that is no lie. I mean, really going back and forth and building the map and da-da-da-da-da. And then in that time, in 2 hours, I probably could have played an entire game of CivRev.
Wow, you are as bad as Makalua.
It's the nature of the beast, though. It's, you know, the difference between deep contemplation and daydreams.
Yeah, the difference between chess and checkers.
You've been listening to RevCast, an official podcast of Apolyton Civilization Site. I'm Cartimandua, and I've been joined by Reeves.
Bye. Have a great thing.
Have a great thing?
Why not? Let's go with that.
Alright. And Alexander the First.
One more turn.
Happy gaming. Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Record date January 17th, 2009. Civilization Revolution sound clips, copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright 2009, Apolyton Civilization Site at apolyton.net.